So I'm honored to be able to speak here. I haven't another experience with Brahmananda Prabhu that was, I guess, unique. Someone mentioned earlier that he was substitute teaching in New York. Well, he was a teacher. He was a really good teacher. And he came to Gainesville. So many things he did. But he came to Gainesville, and I had a school there that for girls. Some of you may know. I was teaching teenage girls for some time. And Brahmananda Prabhu came to our school, and we started talking, and I found out he was a teacher. I mean, that he thought of himself as a teacher, one teacher to another, so we were talking about teaching. And at the time, the girls were studying the Lilamrita, and they were studying the beginning of Srila Prabhupada's journey on the Jaladuta, which is kind of fitting. But Prabhupada, this is his 50th anniversary, and we were talking about how Prabhupada came on the Jaladuta. So Brahmananda Prabhu and I asked him, he said, yes, would you be willing to teach this section of the Lilamrita to the girls? So he taught several classes to the girls, and it was a very unique experience. It was a rare opportunity for them, and I had really, I'd been in Brahmananda's presence several times in many, many places, but I never kind of saw him as a teacher. It was really amazing to see him as a teacher. And he taught them about ocean currents, and he taught them about the weather, and he taught them about geography, and he taught them about Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, in the most amazing way for several days. He was just totally absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's journey and how all these different things, the weather and the ocean currents and the boat and the captain, and how Prabhupada got some money. People said Prabhupada only had 40 rupees, but really he didn't only have 40 rupees. He had $20 because he sold a copy of his book to the captain of the ship before he got off the boat, and so he did have some money, and $20 was. But all these things he wove into this amazing story about how Srila Prabhupada came on the boat for 38 days, and he had this book, I don't remember the name, but he had this book about what was the name of the book? The Early Days or something. Prabhupada's diary, and he was reading from the diary, and how Prabhupada had, heart attacks and so many different things. But he brought that whole experience of Srila Prabhupada's journey on the Jaladuta alive, and he connected it in the way only a great teacher could do to these girls. He connected it to everything, and how Krishna, by Krishna's arrangement, actually delivered Srila Prabhupada to America. That it wasn't just that he got on a boat and he got off a boat, but there was a whole orchestration of the material energy which allowed Prabhupada to come to America and kind of heralded his arrival here in a very most amazing way. So my experience with Brahmananda in that sphere, really, I actually said to him, you should just stay here and become a teacher, and that would be such a nice thing for you. You have a calling, you should be a teacher of young people, because they love the class and they were totally enlivened. Every day they would girls don't move too fast in the morning. So when it was, but when they would honor prasadam and it would be time to go to class, they would just fly over there because they were so enlivened by his presentation. And his love for Srila Prabhupada became so palpable in his description of. You could see he studied it because, he wasn't there, But he had studied it, and he kind of, he had a tremendous empathy for the experience that Srila Prabhupada had on the boat and when he arrived, and his experience here. So that was my most memorable exchange with Srila Prabhupada. With Brahmananda Prabhu about Srila Prabhupada. Another time, or much earlier, in 1969, the devotees from Buffalo, which is where I joined in Buffalo, New York, and we had come down to New York, to see Srila Prabhupada. And actually, I was supposed to get married there, but Prabhupada didn't come. And we had a big Harinam, and there was a picture of that big Harinam on the cover of Back to Godhead magazine. And Brahmananda Prabhu was our host. And so things happened, Prabhupada didn't come, we left. And then after we left back to Buffalo, Prabhupada finally did come. We went back down. And by that time, they were in 61 2nd Avenue. And I remember when Prabhupada was leaving in the car, Brahmananda said, "You're not supposed to let a saintly person leave your sight. You should follow him until you can't see him anymore." So actually in the back of the Sri Upanishad, the original Sri Upanishad, there's a picture of all of us running down 2nd Avenue in the Bowery, just running down 2nd Avenue after Srila Prabhupada's car. And that was Brahmananda Prabhu's order to us, charge! He's leaving and you shouldn't let him leave until you can't see him anymore. You should follow his car. So we ran down the road. It was quite amazing. Brahmananda Prabhu was a fearless warrior in Srila Prabhupada's army. And he loved Prabhupada so much that when you came in contact with him, immediately there was that experience. Another, and the final experience I had with Brahmananda Prabhu in tying something together by his amazing ability as a teacher was here in Vrindavan. He was telling a story. He was giving Bhagavatam class, and he was telling a story about a devotee who he told the name, but I don't remember the name, of a young man who lived in New York, on 26 2nd Avenue, and he was wealthy, and one day he just took off, and he disappeared for a week. And as it turns out, that devotee had flown to India and flown to Vrindavan and gone to Lowy Bazaar, which at that time was like, what's Lowy Bazaar? What's Vrindavan? And he had gone there, and he brought back with him 2 small sets of Radha and Krishna deities. And so he came back to New York, and Brahmananda Prabhu was saying, I asked him, so where did you go? And he said, well, I flew to Vrindavan, and I went to the market, and I bought these 2 sets of deities. And Brahmananda Prabhu said, and he took him out and he put him on his desk, and Brahmananda Prabhu said, I panicked. Because there were these Radha Krishna deities, I didn't know what to do with them. What are we supposed to do with deities? I never saw deities like. And Prabhupada was in Montreal, and so one set of deities that boy kept. The other set of deities, Brahmananda Prabhu sent to Montreal, and because Prabhupada was there, some devotees were going, and he sent the deities there. And then, as the story unfolded, I began to understand that these deities had been kidnapped by a certain devotee in Montreal and brought to Toronto. And those deities were the first deities that we worshipped in Toronto, and they're still there, these little Radha and Krishna deities. So, as I was listening to Brahmananda Prabhu tell the story, I started putting the pieces together and realizing how it had happened. And I ran up after the end of the class and I said, Brahmananda Prabhu, those are the deities in Toronto. And he said, and I told him the story, and he said, yes, it must be. Another piece. Yes, it must be that those deities are the deities that they were brought there to Montreal. So that's my little bit. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I think we can